The gravel crunched under my truck's tires as I pulled up to the old cabin, the one I hadn't seen in years. The mountain air felt sharper than I remembered, clean and quiet, until a shrill voice cut through the silence. "You can't park there! This road is private!" A woman in oversized sunglasses and a clipboard was standing right at my gate, blocking the path like she owned the place. I opened the door slowly, half smiling, half confused. Private? That's funny because last I checked, this is my land. Her jaw dropped. Then she waved a stack of papers like a weapon. Wrong. I'm the head of the Valley HOA now, and if you don't move this truck, I'll have it towed in 10 minutes. I leaned against the hood, calm, watching her eyes flicker. She wanted me nervous, but instead, I just asked, "You sure you want to play this game?" She didn't even flinch. "You abandoned this place years ago. The HOA took over. This is our community now." She jabbed her finger at the cabins further down the valley, roofs barely visible through the pines. "And we don't allow outsiders." I almost laughed, but held it back. Outsider. That word hit harder than she meant, because she had no idea. She thought she was kicking me off a scrap of dirt, when in reality, she was standing in the middle of my valley. Every tree, every stream, every single cabin down there sat on land my family had owned for generations. Her smug smile widened when she saw me pause, mistaking my silence for defeat. "Good. Pack your things and go before I call the sheriff. You'll be trespassing if you stay one more night." My eyes locked on hers, and for the first time, I let the corner of my mouth turn up. "Go ahead. Call him. Just make sure you tell him whose name is on the deed to this valley." She blinked fast, confusion flashing for just a second before her voice rose again, sharper, angrier. "You're bluffing. People like you don't own valleys. We do." And right there, I knew she had no idea the storm she had just walked into. She stomped toward her phone, fingers trembling like she was about to pull a trigger. "Fine, I'm calling the sheriff. He'll get you off this property." She dialed, loud enough for everyone to hear, voice all syrup and poison. "Hi, this is Marjorie from Valley HOA. There's a trespasser." I watched her talk, watched her paint a story that left me out as the villain. Her eyes kept darting to the cabins, proud as if she'd planted each roof herself. When she finished, she snapped the phone closed and turned to me with a grin that meant to finish me. "You'll be gone before sunset." I didn't move. I reached into the truck and pulled out an old folder, the edges weathered, the ink faded but legible. I laid it on the hood where the sunlight hit the paper and watched the color drain from her face as she read the name on the top line. "Aslam Family Trust," it said, plain as the noon sky. "Recorded deed, county recorder, signed, notarized, and on file since 1973. Her smile crumpled. "That's fake," she started, but her voice shook now. I kept going, calm because calm was the better kind of dangerous. "You remember that surveyor who told you the HOA had rights? You never asked for the full title search. You took what you were told." I tapped the folder. "This valley is in my family's trust. I have maps, tax records, and backup affidavits from every neighbor who grew up here. You don't get to pretend you own what you don't." She fumbled for her phone again, but it wasn't the sheriff I was worried about. It was her next move. I let a small smile out and said the one line that cut deeper than any paper. "You just called the wrong sheriff." The words hung there, and she finally looked at me with something raw. Panic, maybe anger, maybe fear. Before she could speak, a rustle came from the tree line. My wife, still wearing the old tactical jacket she used to train new recruits, stepped into the clearing with a camera swinging from her hand. "Hi," she said softly. "We recorded everything. The phone call, her threats, the fake notices." She raised the camera like proof in a movie. "And by the way, I used to teach evidence for the county sheriff's office." Marjorie went white. Her clipboard clattered to the ground. Around us, neighbors who'd once nodded politely now stared with new eyes, mouths open. The woman who thought she could order people around had just realized she'd picked a fight with someone who could prove her wrong and someone who knew how the law worked. Viral line.
The uniformed man pulled up in an unmarked SUV. Badge on his chest, hat low, the kind of look that makes people obey before they even speak. He walked up with slow steps, hands open like a man who expected no trouble. "Evening," he said, voice flat. "Sheriff's deputy. Ma'am called about a trespasser." Marjorie beamed and pointed right at me like she'd won a prize. The deputy's eyes slid to the folder on my hood, then away, and he cleared his throat. "Sir, you need to leave until this is sorted." I folded my arms and kept my voice steady. "Deputy, would you mind showing me your badge number and department?" I said it like I was asking for directions. Simple, calm. He hesitated, fingers brushing the shiny metal, then told a number that sounded rehearsed. Marjorie looked relieved and started lecturing me about cooperating. The neighbors shifted closer, hungry for the show. That's when my wife stepped forward and clicked the camera on, voice soft but loud enough. "Deputy, you were recorded on May 12th at the Willow Ridge meeting taking notes with Marjorie about enforcement action. You called her after the meeting and said you'd handle any problems for a fee?" She held the camera steady. "We have that audio." The deputy's confident face cracked for a heartbeat. He opened his mouth, and the recording played, clear as day, his voice laughing, saying, "Tell me when you want it done, I'll send someone." Gasps spread like wind. Marjorie's face went pale. Her practiced arrogance turned jagged. The deputy stammered, then tried a new tack. "That's edited." But the camera rolled on, showing a clip from a neighbor's doorbell where the same man accepted an envelope from Marjorie behind the post office. The neighbor's voice on the clip. "You promised to take care of that man on the mountain." The deputy looked at the tape, then at the people around him. For the first time, he did not sound like a deputy. He sounded like a man who'd been caught. "You lied," I said. Not shouting, not triumphant, just honest. "You aren't here for law. You're here for Marjorie." A child nearby clutched a toy truck and stared. The deputy's shoulders dropped. He muttered something about private contract and backed toward his SUV. Marjorie lunged forward, fingers clawing at the evidence, but my wife had already tucked the camera away. Neighbors who had nodded at Marjorie for years now stepped between her and the deputy, looking at us with eyes full of questions. He left without a single badge check or demand to see papers. He drove off slowly, the engine a small apology. Marjorie collapsed onto the hood of her car, furious and exposed. "You can't do this!" she screamed, but the sound had no teeth. Across the way, old Mr. Lopez, from Cabin 7, shook his head and muttered, "All these years, and we never knew." A woman I'd grown up with crossed the clearing and put her hand on my shoulder. "You always said your family owned this. Why didn't you fight before?" I looked at Marjorie, at the dropped clipboard, at the deputy's fading taillights. Then I let out one line, slow enough it landed in every ear. "You hired a man with a badge like a costume. That's not power. It's a lie." The whisper of the valley changed after that. People who'd been quiet too long now leaned in. But the worst of Marjorie's day hadn't hit yet. She'd bitten a hand that would not stop until it showed the whole truth.
The valley was restless that night. Word of Marjorie's stunt spread faster than wildfire, and by morning, half the neighbors were at my cabin gate. Some came with questions, some with quiet apologies, others just to see if the rumor was true. That I didn't just own my cabin, I owned the land under every house in sight. Marjorie showed up too, but not with shame. She stormed in, hair wild, makeup smeared, holding a fresh stack of HOA violation notices like nothing had happened. She slammed one against my gate yelling, "You think one fake deed makes you king? You owe us back dues for 10 years, property improvement fees, road maintenance, association costs. Pay today or we seize the cabin." The crowd stirred. Some looked scared, some disgusted. She thrived on confusion. But before I could answer, my wife stepped forward with a small black case. She opened it slow, letting the sun hit the gold shield inside. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I'm not just a trainer," she said quietly, eyes on Marjorie. "I'm a federal investigator. Impersonation of law enforcement is a federal crime. Extortion under false authority is a federal crime. And you," she pointed to Marjorie's trembling hands clutching the papers, "have been recorded committing both." Marjorie's voice cracked, but she tried to hold her ground. You can't just flash that and scare people. This is our community. We voted." I couldn't help but laugh, just once. "You voted on land that isn't yours. That's like renting a movie and trying to sell the theater." The crowd laughed too, nervous but real. Marjorie's power shrank with every chuckle. She screamed, desperate now, "I'll sue every single one of you. This valley belongs to me." That's when old Mrs. Harris, who'd lived here since before Marjorie even knew the valley existed, stepped forward. She held up a photo, black and white, decades old, of my grandfather hammering a post into the ground with kids gathered around. "No, sweetheart, this valley never belonged to you. We were here before your clipboards, before your fake deputies. We know whose name was always on the papers." Marjorie froze, her eyes darting from the photo to the crowd, then to me. She tried to laugh, but it came out shakily. You people don't understand. If he owns the valley, then every house, every single one, every—" Her words hung in the air like smoke, choking on the truth she'd accidentally spoken out loud. The neighbors fell silent, the realization hitting them all at once. And for the first time, it wasn't me who said anything. It was the sheriff's cruiser rolling up the dirt road, lights flashing. This time, the badge wasn't fake.